The one who seeks to control others is enslaved by his own ego, but the one who surrenders to Allah is truly free. Chosen one, listen closely. All your life they tried to convince the world that you were the problem. They painted you as difficult, stubborn, even rebellious, when in reality, the only thing you refused was their control. You see, people fear what they cannot dominate, and you were never created to be someone's puppet. You were created to be a servant of Allah alone. That's why they tried to silence you, to break you, to mold you into something you were never meant to be. But now, the truth is unfolding. They are finally seeing that you were never the problem. The real issue was their need to control what Allah Himself set free. And today, chosen one, your strength, your patience, and your unshakable faith are exposing what they could never hide. Lesson 1. Independence threatens control. Chosen one, understand this truth. Your independence was never a weakness, it was your shield. The reason they turned against you, the reason they tried to label you as difficult, is because your freedom made them powerless. People who crave control thrive on dependency. They need you to need them. They need you to bend to their approval. They need you to bow to their authority. But you refused. You carried yourself with a dignity that bowed only to Allah and that terrified them. When they saw you could stand on your own, pray on your own, succeed on your own, and walk away when they tried to manipulate you, they felt exposed, because your independence revealed the smallness of their false power. Remember, chosen one, the true servant of Allah does not fear the loss of people, wealth, or status, because their provider is Allah alone. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "Whoever seeks the pleasure of Allah, though it is displeasing to people, Allah will suffice him against the people." That was you. You sought Allah, not their approval. And that is why they hated your independence, because it proved that their control was an illusion and your true strength was untouchable. Lesson 2, they confused your boundaries with rebellion. Chosen one of the hardest lessons you had to learn in life is that people who want control will always confuse your boundaries with rebellion. You see, boundaries are not walls of arrogance, they are shields of dignity. Boundaries are not about pushing people away, they are about protecting your soul from harm. But when you set those boundaries, when you said no to their manipulation, when you refused to tolerate their disrespect, suddenly you became the rebellious one, the difficult one, the problem. They could not understand that what you were doing was not rebellion against them, it was obedience to Allah, because the believer does not allow themselves to be humiliated. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "A believer does not allow himself to be stung twice from the same hole." Your boundaries were your way of saying, "I will not let you keep harming me in the same way." And instead of respecting that, they twisted it into an accusation. Think about it. Chosen one, how many times did you walk away from situations where people tried to mistreat you, and instead of acknowledging their wrong, they called you stubborn? How many times did you refuse to let someone play with your heart, and instead of admitting their manipulation, they called you heartless? How many times did you protect your time, your energy, your soul, and instead of saying you have self-respect, they said, "You think you're better than us"? This is the nature of people who cannot control you. They twist your dignity into disobedience because they cannot stand to see you strong. But Allah sees your heart. He knows that your boundaries were never built out of pride. They were built out of survival, built out of faith, built out of the awareness that your soul belongs to Allah and no one else. Chosen one, they accused you of rebellion, but in truth, you were only rebelling against injustice. They accused you of arrogance, but in truth, you were protecting your God-given honor. They accused you of betrayal, but in truth you were walking away from betrayal directed at you. And isn't that exactly what prophets and righteous people faced before you? Prophet Musa, peace be upon him, was called rebellious when he challenged Pharaoh's oppression. Prophet Ibrahim, peace be upon him, was called disobedient when he refused to bow to the idols of his people. Even our beloved Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was accused of arrogance and rebellion when he stood against Quraysh's falsehood. Do you see the pattern? Those who want power will always label truth as rebellion because it threatens the control they cling to. Lesson 3. Their lies exposed themselves. Chosen one. One of the greatest signs of Allah's protection over you is that no matter how many lies were told about you, in the end, those lies exposed the liars themselves. For a time you may have felt crushed under the weight of slander, rumors, and whispers. You may have watched as people believed false stories about you, and you wondered, why is Allah allowing this? Why is He silent while they tarnish my name? But what you didn't realize, chosen one, is that Allah was not silent. He was patient. He was letting their lies run their course, not to destroy you, but to destroy their own credibility, because a lie has no legs to stand on, and eventually it collapses under its own weight. Think about it. Their lies were not born from truth. They were born from fear. Fear of losing control over you. Fear of being exposed by your light. Fear of the strength that Allah placed in you. So they created stories. They twisted your words. They painted you as the villain just so they could maintain the illusion that they were right and you were wrong. But lies, no matter how well crafted, are fragile. The Quran reminds us indeed Allah does not guide one who is a transgressor and a liar. 40:28. When they lied about you, they were not building a case against you, they were building their own downfall, and with time their own contradictions, their own jealousy, their own bitterness revealed itself to everyone around them. Chosen one, remember those moments when you stayed silent while they attacked your name. That silence was not weakness, it was strength. Because you understood that Allah Himself says, indeed, Allah defends those who have believed. 22:38. You didn't need to defend yourself because Allah was already writing your defense in the hearts of people. And over time, the same mouths that spoke lies began to trip over their own words. The same hands that spread rumors began to expose their own hypocrisy. The same people who pointed fingers at you suddenly found all fingers pointing back at them. That was Allah's justice unfolding before your eyes. Lesson 4. Your refusal to be controlled was a form of worship. Chosen one, listen carefully. Every time you refused to bow to their false control, every time you stood your ground against manipulation, every time you chose dignity over submission to people's egos, you were not just protecting yourself, you were worshipping Allah. Because true worship is not only found in prayer and fasting, it is also found in refusing to give your heart, your mind, your loyalty to anything and anyone besides Allah. And that is exactly what you did. You see, those who tried to control you were never upset that you were wrong. They were upset that you could not be enslaved by them. They wanted to be your masters, but your soul was already owned by the master of the universe, And so, your refusal to be controlled became an act of La ilaha illallah. There is no God worthy of submission except Allah. Think of Prophet Ibrahim, peace be upon him. His people demanded that he worship the idols they had built, but he refused. His refusal wasn't just stubbornness, it was worship. When he declared, "Indeed, I have turned my face toward He who created the heavens and the earth, inclining toward truth, and I am not of those who associate others with Allah," 679. That was his way of saying, "You cannot control me, only Allah controls me." The fire they threw him into could not burn him because Allah protected him. And chosen one, when you refused to bow to people's false demands, Allah also preserved you. Your refusal to be controlled is not arrogance, it is obedience. Remember this. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was offered power, wealth, and status if he would only compromise on his message, if he would only remain silent about the truth. But he refused. He said, "If they place the sun in my right hand and the moon in my left, I would not abandon this matter until Allah makes it prevail, or I perish because of it." That was worship. That was loyalty to Allah above all else. And in the same way, when you refuse to let people buy your silence, when you refuse to let them dictate your values, when you chose Allah's pleasure over people's comfort, you were living the very essence of Islam. Chosen one, understand this. Control is a form of false worship. When people try to control you, they are not just trying to manage your actions, they are trying to own your soul. They want your obedience to them to outweigh your obedience to Allah. But your heart belongs to Allah, and that is why you resisted. You may have suffered for it. You may have been called stubborn, rebellious, or ungrateful. But in the sight of Allah, you were standing firm on the truth. And every tear you cried, every lonely night you endured, every loss you accepted instead of surrendering to falsehood was counted by Allah as worship. Chosen one, your refusal was not empty resistance, it was sacred resistance. It was your way of protecting the purity of your faith. And that is why Allah honored you even when people dishonored you. The Quran says, "And Allah will protect you from the people." 5.67. They may have thought they were punishing you, but in reality, they were elevating you. They may have thought they were breaking you, but in reality, they were polishing you. And today, your story shines as proof that when you refuse to bow to people, Allah makes even the heavens bow in your defense. So never regret your refusal to be controlled. Never regret the relationships you lost because you chose faith over manipulation. Never regret the opportunities you walked away from because they required you to compromise your soul. Every no you said for the sake of Allah was a yes to Him. And in the end, that is what matters most. Your refusal was not defiance. It was worship. It was a declaration that your life, your choices, your dignity, your future, all belong to Allah alone. Lesson 5. They're finally realizing you carried truth all along. Chosen one, for so long you were painted as the one who didn't understand, the one who was stubborn, the one who refused to listen. They made you feel as though your voice didn't matter, as though your vision was too unrealistic, as though your values were too rigid for this world. But now, slowly and painfully, they are beginning to see the truth, that the very wisdom they mocked, the very stance they ridiculed, the very light they tried to dim, was the truth all along. And the truth cannot be buried forever, because Allah Himself has promised. Rather, We dash the truth upon falsehood, and it destroys it, and behold, falsehood is bound to perish. 21:18. You see, chosen one, they wanted you to doubt yourself. They wanted you to believe that you were wrong so that you would bow to their way of thinking. They called you extreme when you held firm to your faith. They called you heartless when you refused to tolerate injustice. They called you arrogant when you dared to walk away from manipulation. But every insult, every accusation, every false label was nothing but their desperate attempt to silence the truth you carried. And now, one by one, their illusions are collapsing, and the same people who thought you were misguided are realizing you were ahead of them all along. Think of the prophets who walked this path before you. Prophet Nuh, peace be upon him, preached for 950 years, mocked, ridiculed, and dismissed. People laughed at him, saying his warnings were foolish. Yet when the flood came, it became painfully clear who carried the truth all along. Prophet Musa, peace be upon him, stood against Pharaoh's tyranny, accused of causing division and chaos, when in reality he carried the light of liberation. And our beloved Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, rejected in his own city, was called a liar, a magician, and insane. But today, the very message he carried is the light of over 1 billion hearts. Chosen one, do you see the pattern? Those who carry truth are always mocked before they are recognized, and you are walking that same sacred path. Your patience, your steadfastness, your refusal to compromise, those were not acts of stubbornness, they were acts of conviction, and conviction always outlasts manipulation. Look at how time has revealed everything. The lies they spread about you no longer make sense. The doubts they planted about you have withered away. And the people who once sided against you are slowly realizing the truth you held all along. They may not admit it openly. Pride often holds them back. But deep in their hearts, they now know you were never the problem. You were the one who saw clearly when others were blinded by their desires. Chosen one, this is why Allah told us in the Quran, and say, the truth has come and falsehood has departed. Indeed, falsehood is ever bound to depart. 1781. Truth may take time to be recognized, but it always triumphs, and that is what is happening in your story. Your words that were once ignored are echoing now in the silence of their regrets. Your actions that were once mocked are now admired, though they may never say it aloud. The same values they rejected are the very values they are trying to hold on to now. And that is Allah's justice at work, revealing that you carried truth all along. So, chosen one, never doubt yourself again. Never question the wisdom Allah placed in your heart. Never feel ashamed for carrying principles that others were too blind to see. You were walking with the light of Allah when others were walking in shadows. You were holding on to truth when others were chasing illusions. And today, they are finally realizing what you knew all along, that Allah's light cannot be dimmed, and those who carry it will always be proven right in the end. Lesson 6. Their need for control was their weakness, not yours, chosen one. For so long they tried to convince you that you were weak because you could not be controlled. They wanted you to believe that your independence was a flaw, that your refusal to obey their every demand was arrogance, that your ability to walk away from toxic patterns was selfishness. But here is the truth Allah has now revealed. It was never your weakness, it was always theirs. Their need for control was the clearest proof of how empty and fragile they really were. Strong people don't need to control others because they are secure within themselves. But those who are hollow on the inside, those who are fueled by ego and insecurity, must dominate, manipulate, and enslave others to feel powerful. That was never your problem. That was their disease. Think about it. Chosen one, if they were truly strong, they wouldn't have needed to crush your voice to feel heard. If they were truly wise, they wouldn't have needed to dim your light to feel bright. If they were truly respected, they wouldn't have needed to destroy your dignity to feel important. Their control was never about order or love. It was about fear. Fear that without controlling you, they would lose their false sense of importance. Fear that without silencing you, their lies would be exposed. Fear that without breaking you, their own weakness would be revealed. And look at what happened in the end. Every attempt they made to control you collapsed because their so-called power was built on fear, and fear can never outlast faith. The Quran gives us countless examples of this. Look at Pharaoh. His obsession with controlling Prophet Musa, peace be upon him, was not strength. It was desperation. He saw the truth threatening his empire of lies, and his need to dominate Musa exposed his weakness. He declared, "I am your Lord Most High," 79:24, but his arrogance only revealed how terrified he was of losing control. And what was the end of Pharaoh? Drowned, humiliated, a lesson for all of history. His need for control was his downfall, and chosen one, the same is true for those who tried to control you. Their need to dominate you will always expose their fragility, while your refusal to bow will always prove your strength. Chosen one, I want you to reflect on this. The people who once tried to dictate your every move, the ones who wanted to own your choices, the ones who couldn't stand your independence, where are they now? Do they not look weaker, more insecure, more restless than before? That is the justice of Allah. Because when a person builds their worth on controlling others, they will eventually collapse when those they try to control refuse to bow. You didn't lose by walking away from them. They lost by needing you to stay. You didn't fail by saying no to them. They failed by needing you to say yes. And today, their weakness is exposed for all to see. Your strength was never in controlling others, chosen one. Your strength was in controlling yourself. Your patience, your restraint, your ability to let go, your trust in Allah. That was your power. They mistook control for strength, but the Prophet, peace be upon him, told us clearly, the strong man is not the one who can overpower others, but the one who controls himself when angry. Their so-called power was fake, built on enslaving others. Your power was real, built on mastering yourself. And in the end, it is always real strength that endures. So never again let anyone make you feel guilty for refusing control. Never again let anyone make you believe that your independence was rebellion. You were never the weak one, they were. Their chains were a sign of fear. Your freedom was a sign of faith. Their need for control was their downfall, but your refusal to bow was your salvation. And today, chosen one, the world is beginning to see it clearly. You were never powerless. You were powerful beyond measure because your strength came from Allah alone. Lesson 7. Allah preserved your honor. When they tried to destroy it, chosen one, this is one of the greatest mercies of Allah that you must never forget. No matter how many times they tried to bury you with slander, no matter how many times they gathered in secret to whisper against you, no matter how many times they twisted the truth and turned people against you, your honor was never theirs to take. They thought they held the keys to your reputation, but they were deluded. For honor, dignity, and respect are not in the hands of creation. They belong only to the Creator. Allah tells us in the Quran, "Honor belongs to Allah, His Messenger, and the believers, but the hypocrites do not know." 63:8. Do you hear that? Honor is not something people can grant you or strip away. It is something Allah protects for those who are sincere to Him. They tried to erase you with lies, but in reality, they only erased themselves. They tried to humiliate you, but Allah lifted you higher. They tried to stain your name, but Allah purified it even more. This is the divine law, and Allah will protect you from the people. 5.67. Chosen one, the protection of Allah is stronger than any army, louder than any rumor, greater than any enemy. When Allah chooses to guard your dignity, there is no tongue sharp enough, no hand powerful enough, and no plot clever enough to harm you. Look at the story of Yusuf, peace be upon him. His own brothers plotted to destroy him, thinking they could erase him from their father's love and from the world's memory. They threw him into a well, left him to strangers, and later he was slandered by lies that put him into prison. To the world, it looked like his honor was gone, his future destroyed. But Allah was guarding him all along, raising him step by step, preparing him for leadership and greatness. And in the end, the same brothers who tried to erase him stood before him humbled, admitting his superiority. Do you see? Those who tried to destroy him only cleared the path for Allah to honor him. And chosen one, the same Lord who preserved Yusuf, is the one who is preserving you. And what about our beloved Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him? The Quraysh called him a liar, a poet, a sorcerer, insane. They spread lies, mocked him, tried to assassinate him, tried to destroy his message and his honor. But what happened? Today, his name is the most beloved on the tongues of billions. His honor is mentioned in every prayer, every adhan, every khutbah, every moment across the globe. And those who slandered him, they are remembered only as examples of arrogance and failure. Chosen one, this is Allah's sunnah. He preserves the dignity of His servants while exposing the falsehood of their enemies. And maybe you've already seen it in your own life. The people who gossiped about you, where are they now? The ones who slandered you, are their words not forgotten while you are still standing? Their lies, once shouted loudly, now echo only in silence. Their schemes collapsed under the weight of truth. And here you are, chosen one, still walking, still shining, still protected by Allah. This is not by your strength, but by His mercy. So do not waste your energy defending yourself to those who never wanted the truth. Do not chase validation from those whose hearts are blind. Do not beg people to stand for you when Allah Himself is your guardian. The Prophet, peace be upon him, taught us, "Whoever seeks honor, let him know that all honor belongs to Allah alone." Quran 35:10. Your silence, your patience, your reliance on Allah, that is louder than every slander. Because when Allah raises you, no one can bring you down. And when Allah covers your flaws, no one can expose them. Chosen one, let this sink into your soul. Their attempts to destroy you were nothing but a stage for Allah to demonstrate His protection over you. Their arrows were aimed at your heart, but Allah turned them into stepping stones for your elevation. They thought you were finished, but Allah wrote a new beginning. They thought they could bury you, but they didn't realize you were a seed. And Allah was making you bloom. So walk forward with dignity. Do not look back at their noise. Your honor is in the hands of the Most Merciful. And when He protects it, nothing in this world can touch it. Chosen one, now you can see it clearly. What they meant for your downfall only became the stage for your elevation. They tried to twist the truth, but Allah untwisted every knot. They tried to bury your light, but Allah made it shine brighter. They tried to paint you as the problem, but today it is undeniable. You were never the problem. You were the one carrying truth, dignity, and faith when no one else could. This entire journey was never about them controlling you. It was about Allah training you to stand firmly on His path, unshakable, unmovable, and untouchable by falsehood. So hold your head high, not in arrogance but in gratitude, because Allah preserved your honor when no one else would. They are finally seeing what Allah knew all along, that you are not weak, you are chosen. And chosen ones cannot be controlled by people because their hearts are already surrendered to the one who controls all things, Allah, Lord of the heavens and the earth. So remember, their opinions will fade, their power will crumble, but your legacy will remain tied to Allah's mercy and protection. Walk forward, chosen one, because the same Allah who defended you yesterday will open doors for you tomorrow that no enemy can ever shut. And never forget, the greatest victory is not proving them wrong, it is proving your faith true. Like, share, and subscribe to Wisdom of the Prophets. And let's continue this journey of light together.